Okay, Dardrin, my guy, thank you so much for being on the pod today. I'm excited. How you doing?
Yeah, dude, thanks for having me, man. It's a real honor that you invited me. I'm
Mhm.
doing
I'm
well. How are
excited.
you?
I'm excited to hear about a couple of your properties. We was talking a little bit before. I want to hear about your Chicago one as well because you don't talk about that one much.
Oh, I
Um,
sold that one.
okay, yeah, exactly. So we're gonna get into it. Uh, but first, give us a little background on you and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I went to school at West Point, and so right now I'm an Army officer. So I graduated in 2020 during the height of the COVID pandemic.
Mhm.
And as you know, like the West Point commitment is 5 years after graduation. So I have a minimum commitment to serve and as an active duty Army officer until 2025. And at that point, I could decide whether I want to continue serving or I want to transition in my career. But yeah,
Oh,
right
okay.
now, exactly just slightly over 3 years in.
hmm
So got about just under 2 years left.
Gotcha. And so, um, were you buying real estate throughout that whole time of that 3 years, or did you buy before that as well?
No, so I mean, so pretty much I started on my real estate journey right as 2020 COVID pandemic happened. And I feel like I got
hmm
really because honestly, I don't know if I would have gotten started on this whole thing without COVID
hmm
happening, as weird as that.
Yeah.
Because
Dang.
what happened, yeah, it was if you remember during March of 2020, the whole world freaked out. No one knew
hmm
what was gonna happen. So West Point let us go for spring break, which was already a shocker. We were all kind of
hmm
expected to, be kept at the school.
hmm
But they let us all go home for spring break. And then after that, they said, hey, guys, don't come back. And we were like, wait, what?
What?
Yeah. They were like, hey, we got to figure this stuff out right now. The whole world's going on lockdown, apparently. We have no idea what this disease is or how it's going to impact our health. So just stay home while we figure it out and don't come back. And by the way, all classes canceled because we're a military academy and we have not figured out how to transition this to like a remote learning situation.
uh Okay.
Pretty much we
Interesting.
were all just given like the go ahead just to like go relax, right? So
hmm
I'm here on my last year of college in 2020, chilling in my parents' house, the childhood house that I grew up in Los
hmm
Angeles, without anything to do really. Um, so of course, I start getting bored. I'm an economics major. I wanna, do something. So I
hmm
started looking into businesses and surfing the web. Eventually, I stumbled upon something called Bigger Pockets.
There we go.
Yep, and that set everything off. Bigger Pockets was life changing, right? Hearing about those
hmm
podcasts, how beginner friendly they are. It's really and Brandon Turner was still around at the time, and
Okay.
that man with his charisma, his energy, that
He
kind of
does got some good charisma, doesn't he?
yeah,
I
yeah,
think he says it's like wisdom just coming
yeah.
straight to me. I'm like,
Oh, I
wow.
miss him. He's like my dad, man. Well, that kind of just gave me the motivation to keep going. Seeing his journey and seeing the guests that they bring onto the show, all that I got obsessed with this. So I bought a lot of their books. I went through like hours at a time of their podcast. All while really I had nothing to do because I was a college student in the height of the pandemic.
hmm
So it gave me the perfect excuse essentially to just put my whole life on pause and dive headfirst into the real estate journey. Um, After a couple months of this theoretical knowledge, listening to podcasts and
hmm
um, reading books and all that kind of stuff, I figured out my next studio location was going to be some random place in Oklahoma. It's called
hmm
Lawton, Oklahoma. It's about an hour south of Oklahoma City. Uh,
Okay.
I would not recommend ever going there. No offense to Lawtonians out there. I'm sorry. It's pretty much just like the middle of nowhere. Essentially, that's the way I would describe
hmm
it. Um, that being said, though, I was like, hey, maybe I could, look into some real estate stuff over here.
hmm
So I start going online. I start calling, all the resources that they told me to call. Hey, call this real estate agent. Call, wholesalers. I start like Googling all kinds of stuff. Uh,
hmm
Eventually, I Googled the county auction website or something like
Okay.
that. This was like 3 years ago, and they pick up the phone actually, and they're like, "Hey, listen, we actually have this property that's available for
hmm
coming up. It's right outside the city of Lawton, and it's a 3-bedroom house. And we had to foreclose on the previous owner not too long ago. And guess what? It's $18,000.
And that's you're like, what? 18,000? That's
Like, wait a second. I mean, I didn't have any reference point other than the prices of California, right?
Mhm.
You know, we hear properties that are like, 18 million sometimes,
Mhm.
or I mean, more commonly, it's going to be like 1.8 million or something like that. So this is on a scale that I've never encountered before in my life. Now it's a little bit, now that I've experienced real estate more, $18,000 is not like so crazy, right? But back
Yeah.
then, having no experience, I was like, oh my God, this has got to be like the deal of a lifetime. I've
Yeah.
never heard of anything like this in my life. So, we get the career starter loan from West Point, right? And that's a 0.75% loan, 0.75% loan for $36,000.
Wait,
That
explain that more. Wait, 0.75% down?
no, a 0.75% interest rate loan
Oh.
of
Oh.
$36,000. Yeah. So
Uh-huh. Wait. Hold on. This is used specifically for buying real estate or
no,
just
no. This is like we call it the cow loan here at West Point.
Mhm.
Or there at West Point, but a lot of other schools, they have programs similar to it. It's called the
Mhm.
Career Starter Loan. So
Okay.
essentially, it's supposed to help finance the initial cost of
Mm.
the Army career.
Mhm.
So like they know, right? These Army people, they know like they have us locked in for 5 years.
Mhm.
So they're gonna be like, okay, this guy, if he comes from like a background of nothing, he's gonna need a car, he's gonna need to buy uniforms,
Mhm.
buy like all this and that, and we know we have him locked in for a job for 5 years,
Mhm.
right? So why don't we give him this lump sum money up front and subtract it from his career for 5 years
Mhm.
so that he could afford to purchase like these things that he needs,
Gotcha.
right?
Okay.
So we all pretty much everybody in the school is encouraged to take this on, whether or not you need it. I didn't like really need it at the time.
Mhm.
But like I was like, hey, $36,000 for
Mhm.
0.75. You don't need to
Yeah.
be an econ major to know that that's a good deal,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So I took the deal. I was sitting on $36,000. I'm pretty sure I spent it on some like stocks. I opened like a Roth IRA. At the
Mhm.
point where it was 2020, I had about $20,000 left, and that was
Mhm.
right just enough to throw it all into that
Mhm.
$18,000. And that's what I did. And I remember sitting
Mhm.
at breakfast with my dad, who's been doing real estate forever. And
Mhm.
he's looking at me, he's like, dude, like 18,000 won't even get you a toilet here, man. Like
Mhm.
this is such a scam. And he's like, there's a reason probably why, it's
Yeah, it's
18.
worth that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like that you're the only person that's buying.
So had you seen it yet before you?
No,
No.
never. I just know what I read in books, and
Mhm.
at that time I even knew I was like, if I don't do this, like the ramifications are going to be worse than whatever $18,000 I might lose.
Mhm.
So at that point, it wasn't a matter of like whether or not like this deal is good. It was just
Okay.
proving to myself that I can take this plunge right now.
Mhm.
That I have the cojones. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that because I know like even if I walk up there and that thing is completely run down, like I lose $18,000. Okay, so what?
Mhm.
It's gonna hurt because that's all the money I had to my name at the time, really.
Yeah.
Um, but at least I proved to myself that I have what it takes, to take massive.
Mhm. Yeah.
And as I make my money back in the future, that more opportunities like that will come, and the next one might work out.
Mhm.
So that was what was going through my mind at the time. It was just very important that I do take that initial plunge and take that risk because it would
So
set me
did
off on a good trajectory.
mhm. Did you live in this property or is it pure investment?
No, it was a purely
Mhm.
gonna be an investment home.
Mhm. So what happened with it? Do you still own it today?
I still do own it to
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Actually, yeah. Actually, I can show it to you. So I ended up buying it, and it ended up working out really well. The first day I got there,
Mhm.
um, there were two old ladies in there on Social Security checks.
Uh-huh. Oh my God, you took a photo.
Yeah, this is my first day there, right?
Oh
So
my God.
first day there, the neighbor took this picture.
Uh-huh.
the I roll up to this property, right? And then like I have no idea what to expect. I'm just happy that there's a
Uh-huh.
stacked house there, right? In the first,
Yeah.
the two old ladies there, they open up the door and they're like, "Hi, yeah, how are you doing?" The sweetest people. And I go in there, they give me some tea or whatnot. They tell me about their living situation, about how they're on social security checks, and that's all they
Mhm.
have. And they have no idea what's going on. As far as they know, their landlord just like disappeared one day, and then they
Mhm.
had a knock on their door like a couple weeks ago.
Dang.
They're completely confused, and they're like, "Guess what? Nobody's collected rent here for 2 months, so here you go." And they handed me $1,000.
Oh
Um,
my God.
yeah, and I was like, "What are you guys talking about?" And there's like, "This is the
Mhm.
rent that's been due for 2 months. We've been saving it up. It's about $500 per month. So here's $1,000." And like, thank you for showing up and being so nice. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh my God, this is like, is this what real estate is? If it's like this, like it was
Oh
just
my God.
a positive experience that kicked me off.
Yeah.
And I was like, no way, like this is too easy. I mean, of course, it's never been that easy. I just got
Mhm.
extremely lucky, and I
Yeah.
recognize it now. But back then, I didn't recognize how lucky I was. So I was just
Mhm.
like, oh my God, this is the shit. Like I found out
Mhm.
exactly what I'm gonna do forever. You know, I thought it was just like this was like a common thing. So I
Mhm.
walked that day with $1,000 in my pocket, a huge smile on my face. I called my dad. I was like, "Hey, guess what? It wasn't like it was like an actual house. I have tenants,
Yeah.
and I just made back like 1/18 of my investment. Like first day I walked into the house.
Dang,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah, it was like incredible. And then I mean, to this day, I have that house, and they still pay me the rent. I've never increased rent enough because
The same old ladies?
yeah, the same old ladies with
Uh-huh.
their security checks.
Mhm.
We kind of had like a mutual understanding there. Like, hey, look, I'm new to real estate, and I
Mhm.
want to make this a thing, right? So if you guys look out for me, I'll look out for you. Like, I won't
Mhm.
sell the property. You guys won't get like another landlord. I'll take good care of you. Anything, just call me, and
Mhm.
just pay your rent on time, and
Mhm.
I will follow up on my end. You follow up on your end, and they've lived up to their promise, and I've lived up to my promise. I've thought many times about selling off the property, because at this point it doesn't belong in my portfolio.
Mhm.
I've decided like, no, I'm just going to keep it because I made them a promise, and
Mhm.
I'm not going to break that.
Mhm. Did you promise them, like, how long did you promise you'd hold it for?
No, I just promised I would just take care of them. So like
You take care of them.
as long as they're
Mhm.
still there,
So is this,
I'll
you get
hold.
$1,000 a month? So this is paid for the property at this point.
Yeah, the property is about like at this point it's been 3 years of them paying $500 um per month. So it's like about $6,000 a year that I'm getting from this property. And I've had
Okay.
this for 3 years. There's been like
Mhm.
very few repairs that I've had to do along the way.
Mhm.
So I would say like at this point it's getting close to fully paid off,
Mhm.
like already fully paid off.
Mhm.
It's right there, yeah, because I bought
Mhm.
this really exactly 3 years ago,
Mhm.
like on the very month, July
Yeah.
20.
Dang. Okay. So this is a lot different than like a normal property you would purchase, because usually people finance the whole thing and then you're looking at like paying off the debt and everything, but you're just paying off. I mean, you're just getting your money back
Yeah,
and paying off your 0.75% interest loan that you have, really.
yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And I recognize how like this is super unconventional
Uh-huh.
for how normal people get started in real estate.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was just such a positive experience. I'm so grateful for it because this is what kicked me off to like
Hmm.
pursue future ventures. You
Hmm.
know, and this was the thing that started it all. This $18,000 property in the
Hmm.
middle of nowhere. I'll always have a special connection to it. Even if
Uh-huh.
I sell it one day, like
Hmm.
that property in Harper, in Fletcher, Oklahoma, which is the small town outside of Lawton. It's always
Hmm.
a special place in my heart.
What do you think the resale value of it would be right now?
Right now, Zillow's putting it at about $80,000.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I would probably I think that's an overestimate. I think that's like at top market value, everything.
Yeah.
everything being like market ready and all that kind of stuff. Like
Hmm.
I wouldn't. I don't think I would sell it for 80,000. If I were to sell it right now, I'd be satisfied with anything over
Yeah.
50. To be honest,
Yeah.
that's already triple my investment. And
Hmm.
yeah, but I'm not thinking about that yet until until later on.
So this catapulted you into your next property, and what was that?
Yeah, and my next property was again like a really just like a really lucky thing. Actually, no, there was one property in between that next property. So the next property was actually a duplex venture that I had with my sister.
Hmm.
We purchased a duplex with an FHA loan at Chicago, which is it's a small suburb right north of Chicago called Evanston. And
Hmm.
she went to school at Northwestern University. So pretty much how this started was she called me and she was like, "Hey, Northwestern is saying to live on campus, I have to pay like 3,000 or something close to that, like $2,000 to $3,000 for
Hmm.
like small studio apartment on campus, or I have to
Hmm.
live off campus, but it's very expensive and it's kind of a commute." And I was like, wait a second. So as long as I can create a situation where we're paying under 3,000, like we're profiting, right? So that got my juices flowing. Right? That got me
Hmm.
right. So we started looking around. We found this duplex like right outside the campus, like 5 minutes by car, pretty much.
Hmm. Dang.
Yeah, this was the Chicago duplex that you're.
Yeah.
This duplex was like my first house hack. We bought it with our FHA loan. We bought it with my FHA loan,
Hmm.
uh, because we couldn't use the VA loan because we can't VA loan. I found this out
Hmm.
while buying the property. You can't use a VA loan in conjunction with a person who doesn't have a VA entitlement.
Yeah, unless you're married. I've
Yeah,
heard
unless you're married. Yeah,
on some cases you can do it to like a child if
yeah,
they let you, but it's like certain cases that
yeah,
can be done.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, in this situation with me and my sister, you
Hmm.
know, it couldn't work out that way. But that's fine
Hmm.
because the FHA loan still exists. So we used the FHA loan,
Hmm.
and just this duplex, 5 minutes outside of school, and it was perfect because the payment came out to under $2,000, like the whole monthly payment,
Oh,
the
dang.
entire monthly payment. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
$2,000. So it was like easy math, right?
Yeah.
As long as one of the units can generate any money at all,
Any money. Yeah.
like $1, we would literally be like already better off than if she had just lived on campus.
Uh-huh.
And then that's what happened. We got really lucky, and we actually kept the tenants that we inherited. We increased their
Uh-huh.
rent, and we increased it to like 1450 or something like that. So we increased it to 1450, and then we were still coming out of pocket $500. So I told my sister like, "Hey, figure out the $500 situation," and
Mhm.
I was like, either get a roommate or like figure out some other way to do it. And
Mhm.
we actually started Airbnb out the extra room in her own unit, and
Really?
it
Okay.
ended up getting us an extra 1,000 per month.
Uh-huh.
And
Dang, that's
yeah, it
oh.
was crazy, right? And
Uh-huh.
that like woke me up. I was like, whoa, what is this Airbnb business?
Mhm.
Right? Because like you're telling me one room is bringing in $1,000 for me, and then the
Mhm.
whole other side of the duplex, which is three bedrooms,
Mhm.
that's only bringing me in 1450.
Yeah.
Like something's not enough here, right? And that
Mhm.
real made me realize like the power of short-term rentals.
Mhm.
That property right there in that same situation where we had a long-term tenant and a short-term tenant paying 1450 and $1,000 respectively. We held that through for 2 years until she
Mhm.
graduated from Northwestern, and then I
Mhm.
sold it off, and I just
Mhm.
sold that one off last year.
Mhm. And how'd that one do in terms of appreciation?
Oh, it didn't appreciate all that much. It appreciated
Mm.
like $20,000, which pretty much like went right back to the agent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that the appreciation wise, I think I ended up like on top only like by like $700 or something like that.
Okay. Mhm.
But
But you
the
gained a lot of
thing,
equity.
yeah, the main thing
Mhm.
is that yeah, the equity pay down wasn't all that much either because for the first 2 years of
Mhm.
the amortization is like all interest pretty much.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So really the biggest benefit besides the intangible benefit of my sister like learning about this stuff and me learning about this stuff The biggest benefit is that she didn't have to pay $2,000 to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
pretty much had like a free living situation for 2 years for her.
Yeah.
And that memory stuck with me. And I emulated exactly what she did to my current living situation right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is where you did your VA loan.
Yes. So this
Mm-hmm.
property that I'm in right now, this is half of a duplex, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is my bedroom in my half of the duplex. The
Mm-hmm.
other room downstairs, there's a I use it as an Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side over there is also an Airbnb. So essentially 3/4 of this duplex is an Airbnb because there's
Mm-hmm.
four bedrooms here. Two of them
Yeah.
are on the other side, two of them are on my side. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's been just phenomenal. I've completely eliminated my living expense pretty much. And it's just building equity, getting the appreciation and
Mm-hmm.
0% down, you know.
Yeah. So what are the main differences between the VA loan and the FHA loan that
Yeah,
you've experienced?
good question. So the FHA loan, right? This is a huge drawback of the FHA loan. First of all, the FHA loan requires you to put at least like 3.5% down,
Mm-hmm.
unless they changed it recently. I've heard the news of them changing that 3.5% requirement. For multifamily, it's actually like I think 5% down minimum. So we have to
Mm-hmm.
put how much we put down exactly? We put more than 5% down. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
Scrounged up like both of our money that we had saved up, and we
Mm-hmm.
dropped it on that property. If it was a VA loan, we would not have had to do that because a
Mm-hmm.
VA loan, one of the biggest benefits is that it's 0% down, and they roll the VA funding fee
Mm-hmm.
into the property. And now the VA funding fee is like a special fee that feeds into the VA loan and allows
Mm-hmm.
them to continue to perpetuate and be profitable for the VA. So they're not just bleeding money, right? On making
Mm-hmm.
better
Yeah.
than the loans. Um, so they actually roll the VA funding fee into the VA loan. So you're pretty much walking into it with 0%,
Mm-hmm.
other than like the closing costs that you have to pay.
Yeah.
But that's honestly negligible. And also that depends heavily on your agent. So if you find
Mm-hmm.
an agent, they can negotiate away your closing costs and literally have you walk into a property with zero. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, so that is one of the big benefits is the 0% down, so you get maximum leverage.
What about
This
interest?
Yeah, interest rates are also on average. Now this is lender dependent, but on average,
Mm-hmm.
PA loan interest rates are slightly under conventional loan
Mm-hmm.
interest rates. Um, but I would always encourage anybody who's using a certain lender, don't just say like, oh, he's a VA lender, he must be like, the lowest on the market. Like,
Yeah.
hop around still.
Always talk to several.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
always talk to like at least like two or three, get like a good idea and have them
Mm-hmm.
with each other, bid each other down.
Mm-hmm.
There's always lower,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But in general though, you can be pretty sure you can be pretty certain that a VA loan is on average across the market is going to be lower than a conventional loan by just like a tiny margin.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the biggest thing, right? And to me, this is huge, is the PMI, and that
Yeah.
stands for mortgage
Pri-
insurance. P
primary
stand.
mortgage insurance. Yeah.
What does the P stand for again? Sorry.
Primary mortgage insurance.
Yes, primary mortgage insurance, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
Tanner, you've used the FHA loan, right?
I actually have not. I've tried to, but I've done less than 20% down.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. So if you have done less than 20% down, like like
Yeah.
what the
Uh-huh.
PMI feels like.
It's basically a monthly charge that you have to pay
Yeah.
for insurance on doing less than 20% down. But
Yeah.
when you're doing HA at 3.5% down, it's a massive payment. It can be up to like $500 sometimes, depending on your mortgage. But typically, I would say between 200 and 350 is on average for what I see. But
It's
it
like
makes or breaks the deal.
yeah, it's like having like an additional like insurance payment on your
Yeah.
property, and you have to
Mhm.
hold that because the lender needs to protect their loan, right? So that's why they do the PMI. You have to hold that until you get to 20%, and then the lender at that point feels comfortable enough to drop the PMI because they know if you don't pay your loan, they're just going to cede your asset, and then
Yeah.
they're protected by that 20% margin. Well, if you don't have that 20% margin yet, then they're going to want to protect their asset in other ways. and that's where that insurance comes in. The VA loan, however, does not have PMI. So you're essentially getting a property for zero down, which is less than what other people are walking into properties for. And then your monthly payment is going to be several $100s less than them. So when you're competing with other house hackers, I'm speaking to soldiers right here, right? If you're competing with other house hackers, just know that you have a several $100 advantage over them, right? So you should be able to buy properties and make them work more than other house hackers. So I don't want to hear excuses, right? I don't want to hear excuses saying like, oh my God, my market's like way too expensive. Like I can't make the VA loan work. Like, dude, first of all, if there's one other house hacker doing it and he's doing it without the VA loan, you have no excuse.
Yeah.
Zero excuse. That's what I gotta say about that.
And what about if you want to use it again for VAs?
Yeah, so the VA loan can be used multiple times. I've only used it one time, but as far as I know, there's like a lot of different methods, right? There's first of all, the VA loan entitlement right now goes up to like 800,000, 800 something.
Yeah.
So pretty much like immediately you could go up to that. So you could have like a $400,000 loan and then like another $400,000 loan, and then that's no problem. Now, if you want to go over that entitlement, I've also heard that being possible. Like there's stuff like VA jumbo loan or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. People all the time get stationed in San Diego, right? That's like a Navy or Hawaii, right? Those are heavily, those are heavily like popular vacation spots already. So you know that assets are going to be way more expensive than what like a normal person should be able to afford. However, if you have, guys like me, veterans, or active duty guys showing up and buying property still, right? And that's possible through something that I've heard called the VA jumbo loan. I haven't investigated that too much, but I know it is possible, and you could go over your VA entitlement because honestly, in San Diego and Hawaii, you have to like that entitlement. Not get you anything, right? Imagine getting like $100,000 property in Hawaii. Like I'm pretty sure that doesn't even exist.
I'm pretty sure like the average home price in Hawaii is over $1 million. Any property, no matter how much work needs to be done to it.
Exactly.
So we talked a little bit about FHA versus VA. Is there anything else that makes the VA loan really good for house hackers that you can think of?
I think the VA loan is well, I mean, besides those other advantages, I think the VA loan is like quite similar to the FHA loan in like all other aspects. It pretty much, I mean, when you get a VA loan or an FHA loan, you are partnering up with a very conservative partner essentially, right? And finance your project. So you could pretty much rest assured that if the VA loan or the FHA loan approves of something that you're going to do, that it's a pretty wise investment. So you don't have to worry about it. You're already having one of the most conservative partners that is going to run the numbers, and it's going to run your own personal financial numbers, and it's going to make a determination of whether or not you're going to be able to do this. So I would say like that's like a huge advantage actually. Don't consider it as like a liability that oh my gosh, the banks are having such high standards. Like that's good. That's good. That means you could work less. That means you don't have to worry about running your own numbers as much. That means you could go play golf or something like that because run the numbers for you, and they're going to tell you whether or not you can do it. And if you can't do it, they're going to be the first person to tell you, like denied. So if they approve you, like just have confidence in yourself that you can do it.
One other thing about the VA loan, about if you were to like switch over to use it again, I believe if you have 20% equity in it, or even like 10 or 15, you can refinance out of it into just like a conventional 10, 15, 20% down loan. And then you can go and use your VA. So if you want to move out of your house hack, you can use your VA loan again.
Exactly. Yeah. The VA loan is like a lifetime benefit. So you have to be inside the Army. This is a super common misconception, by the way, even among my own classmates. And it is that the VA loan is only applicable if you're in active duty. Like, no, you could be You could be in the National Guard, you could be in the Reserve even. I think the Reserve has like a different requirement, but essentially, like once you're in active duty after a certain time period, you get that VA loan benefit for life. So once you're out of the Army, you could still use the VA loan. It's not because you're a veteran, right? It's a veterans association loan. So
Yeah.
since you are a veteran, now you can take advantage of the VA loan for life, and you can use it as many times as needed. But just keep in mind, you would have to refinance your way out of your previous VA loan in order to get the VA loan again.
Yeah. So your current property, the duplex, did you do repairs to it when you first?
Yeah, I bought it initially when it was in just like a really like solid bones situation, but aesthetically unpleasing is put it very lightly.
Okay.
Yeah, old carpets, like the walls were like yellow, you know, that smoker yellow.
Yeah.
Like weird color, beige, I guess. I don't even know. Well, it's like this color, you know, like that weird color. As soon as I went in there, put on new coats of paint, put on the flooring, and then did a lot of renovation. I renovated the whole backyard. Immediately, I'm pretty sure I raised the value to the point where now I'm almost certain that I could refinance out of the VA loan.
That's awesome.
20% equity through renovations. Only reason why I haven't is, as you know, the interest rates.
Yeah.
No joke. So when I locked this property in, I got locked in at 3.5, and this was in 2022. So 3.5 was already good for 2022.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was 2021, I would have gotten locked in at 2.5 or less, or less. But 3.5 was the best I could do in 2022. And now if I were to do it, refinance my way out of the VA loan, sure, it means that I can, use my VA loan again on another property. But, now I'm going to get two loans, a conventional loan and a VA loan, both at like 6+%. It's like, do I want one property at 3.5%, or do I want two properties at 6.5% or whatever?
Yeah.
And I don't know yet, because make the argument both ways, right? You can make the argument. It's like you could have the one property for 3.5%, be patient, and then, when the rates come down again, get another property at 3.5%.
Yeah.
Or be, walking into two properties now for 3.5% or 6.5%, and then have to finance both of them again when the rates drop. So right now I'm kind of just like at a wait and see moment. If I see that rates are stubbornly not coming down, I might just bite the bullet on that one and just refinance this anyway, and then get another VA loan at 6.5%. Because at the end of the day, I think it's more important to build a big portfolio and then refinance down later.
Okay.
But no, I guess I'm just applying some tactical patience.
There you go. So what's your long-term goals with real estate investing?
Oh man, I haven't figured it out yet. A lot of things that I really like, and there's a lot of things I don't like. So I've tried many things already, right? So I've flipped houses before. I did a flip in Oklahoma right before I left. I dabbled in wholesaling. I've had a few good wholesales. Those are easy in terms of like the money that gets generated immediately, right? You see the fruits of your labor like immediately.
Yeah.
It's very gratifying, but it is a lot of work. So I don't know if I want to do that. Long-term rental is way easier. It is completely passive, and it's good money. Short-term and medium-term rental is kind of like a good middle ground between being like super active, like flipping houses and wholesaling, and then being passive and just having long-term rentals. So I really like the medium-term, short-term rental situation. I know I can't do it for long because as I get busier, as I get busier and as my goals change and as my life circumstance changes, I'm going to apply for business school eventually. And if I be on the East Coast or wherever I end up, I'm not going to be able to manage short term.
Managing is so hard from long
Yeah,
distance. Even like for short term and midterm specifically, you can do long term, but after a while, it's just like, why am I still dealing with this
yeah, exactly. I'm
thing?
not going to want to have a phone call from an Airbnb guest when I'm preparing for like my finals or
Yeah.
something. So that's something I have to consider. So I'll have to get out of this space eventually. Recently, I've actually been dabbling in land actually with Dan.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, for those in the audience who don't know, Connor and I are both in Colorado Springs, and we both have like a mutual friend. He's named Dan, and
Dan Haberkost.
yeah, Dan Haberkost,
Mhm.
the landman.
The land man.
Yeah, landman. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he's perfected essentially the formula of buying and selling land and making
hmm
profits and arbitrating and doing that, operating like a land pawn shop essentially.
hmm
And I've been following in his footsteps. And recently, I just got a deal under contract. We're under contract
Oh,
right now
nice.
to buy a 17-acre desert land in
Mhm.
Arizona. So
In
hopefully,
Arizona?
yeah, it's in Arizona. It's in the desert,
What part?
right south of Las Vegas, in an area called Kingman. It's
Oh,
like
okay. I know Kingman, yeah.
on Route
Uh-huh.
66. Okay, okay, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So hopefully that deal works out. If it
hmm
does, it might be an interesting pivot. Um,
hmm
I'm just trying to figure out exactly like what I like and what I don't like. I'm kind of starting to see the picture now,
hmm
and then weighing it out with the money.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha. So what advice did you have for someone that's new to real estate, they want to start house hacking and buy their first property?
Look, I'll say this, right? Like my friend recently bought a quadplex too, but right before he bought it, he was, having a lot of that like last minute um buyer. I don't know what you agents call it, but it's like
Uh,
I'm talking about that first time home buyer, like
yeah, you get scared and you,
nervous breakdown, like literally like the
yeah,
week before you buy it, and like
yeah.
happens like, so much for first time home buyers.
Cold feet. That's
Yeah,
the,
cold feet. That like
hmm
last cold feet. Like I just told him this. Like I told him exactly like how I got started too with that like random property in Oklahoma. Who like, that was just like the craziest purchase by any standards, right?
hmm
Um, like it's not about this very deal. Like you gotta start thinking bigger, right? This
hmm
is the first deal that'll set you off on a trajectory. It gets your foot into the door on a trajectory of lifelong financial independence, right?
hmm
Real estate is a great tool, right? But it has to be done at scale, and it has to be done over time, and it has to be done with patience, right? With diligent risk taking. And
hmm
you cannot just focus down on the micro things, right? Like, oh my god, like what if this toilet doesn't work? Like, oh my god, this is gonna be like $100 expense that I didn't plan for in my like 2 sheet long Excel projection. Like, dude,
Yeah.
like you're getting really, really down into the micro level. You know what I mean?
hmm
Good and all, but start thinking, zoom out for 1 second and look big picture, right? What are my
Yep.
and how am I going to get there? This property is nothing in the
hmm
big picture, right? It is
hmm
one step of the way. Whether the property succeeds or fails is almost irrelevant. It gets your foot in the door and it gets you set along this positive trajectory, which is the
hmm
important thing. So that is my advice. Just go and do it and look in the big picture.
hmm That's excellent. I 100% agree because the first property is always the hardest because everyone's always so afraid that it's not going to work out, that
Yes.
you're going to
Yes.
owe money and everything. But if you do that first property, you're never going to get the next one and the next one and the next one. And all for that to do
Exactly.
actually do. So
Yeah.
yes, first step in the first jump into the first
Exactly.
property.
And as an agent, you know this. Like you see people blow up like entire deals over like
Oh yeah.
they don't like the refrigerator brand or something that's inside.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you are crazy for this right now.
Yeah.
Pinching pennies and you're stepping over dollars to grab the pennies.
hmm
That's essentially what it is. Like people get
Yep.
caught up in these micro things that they
hmm
win on, and they
hmm
fail to see the bigger picture. And
Yep.
that's the important thing is big picture always.
Awesome. I love it, Dardrin. Thank you so much. Where should people reach out to you if they want to get connected?
Yeah, man. So my name is Dardrin Chin, right? Dardrin Qin is my last name. I'm on all the social medias as Dardrin Chin. If you look me up on Facebook, it's that. On Instagram, it's Dardrin Q, my first name with the first initial of my last name. So yeah, you could just reach out to me in any of those platforms, and I'd love to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dardrin. I appreciate it, brother. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, man.